It's an evil world that we live in. How's everybody doing? My name is Anthony Brian Logan, and today we got to talk about this crazy story coming out of Houston, Texas, that a lot of you guys sent me involving CPS, that's Child Protective Services. Now, this agency is supposed to be there to protect children from things like, I don't know, human trafficking, abuse in the home, parents that are on drugs, and doing crazy things that put the child in danger. They should be there for that, but apparently in Houston, there's a problem, and please, no pun intended, but there's a serious issue with CPS down there who may be putting the children in more danger than they were in their own homes. And before I go any further, let's roll the clip. If you want to see this clip without my commentary, the link will be in the description. But you got to see what's going on here in Houston with some of these very young kids in CPS. And after we get done watching that, I'll come back. I'll talk about what was said there. Then I'll give you the rest of my 2 cents and my deep, detailed analysis. And then I'll wrap it on up with a nice bow on top. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll it.
And we begin tonight with a story that you'll only see here on Fox. An employee with Child Protective Services is caught on camera telling a 14-year-old girl in foster care to become a prostitute.
That's right, and this girl is one of hundreds of kids in CPS custody living in hotels all over the state. Fox 26's Randy Wallace live from Southwest Houston here with this story. Randy, the exclusive.
Yeah, Jonathan. Now, earlier this year, a federal judge scorned Child Protective Services for making kids available for prostitution in the CPS system. Now we have a case where an employee with that state agency is actually encouraging prostitution of a 14-year-old child.
You're gonna be a real hoe.
Wouldn't they remove a child from a parent that told their child to be a prostitute?
They should. And they would.
Keisha Basley has 9 kids. She turned to Child Protective Services to help her with her 14-year-old daughter, who she says was running away and causing trouble at school.
My daughter told me that the worker had been telling her that she should do these things. So she said she decided to video her. Can we get something to eat, please?
CPS is housing the girl at a hotel. She's one of dozens in Harris County. In the video, she tells the CPS employee she wants food. The CPS worker tells her to be a prostitute. I mean, she was basically encouraging a 14-year-old girl to become a prostitute.
And giving her an incentive to do so, and almost a threat of not having her needs being met if she didn't do what this woman very explicitly told her to do.
If me, the parent, was to do something like this to my child, I would be bashed. I would be called a horrible parent. I would lose my kids. Get your tail to that room.
Basley filed a formal complaint with CPS.
This should not happen to girls in their care. This should not happen. This is unacceptable.
Jamie Masters, the commissioner of CPS, came to Houston to personally apologize to Basley and her daughter.
I've never seen that happen before, where a commissioner of CPS comes in from Austin just to apologize about something that's horrible that's been done to a child and a parent involved with CPS.
I do not believe that that was genuine. I really don't.
It's bad enough if it's one rogue caseworker.
Made like $1,500. How much money gave him?
It concerns me that it may be bigger than that, and they need to investigate this and make sure that it's not just one person, and they've got to figure out a way to protect these kids.
All right, so you saw that, you heard that. Now, this is totally crazy. Let's start from the top. Now, as far as children being involved in human trafficking and the sex trade, unfortunately, that's not necessarily that uncommon. That happens a lot when you're talking about illegal aliens coming across the southern border. A lot of these are children. A lot of young girls are sold into slavery. Sometimes even adult women are sold into slavery. If you ever see a Chinese massage parlor get raided and they'll have mug shots on the screen, it'll be a few Chinese women that appear to be kind of middle-aged. They don't speak no English. They got obviously Chinese names. You know what that is. They're coming over here because they probably were sold into slavery or they leased themselves into it, meaning they exchanged their passage over here in part with their own body. That's kind of how that works. Human trafficking, slavery is 1,000% real. and it's 100% active right here in the USA as it is across the world. Let's just have that be known first. But what's going on right here with these children appears to be a bigger issue than just that one person being recorded by the young girl. You see, there could be a higher power. It could even be a cartel that's influencing CPS to get these girls involved in human trafficking. 14 years old, talking about be a prostitute. Is that what we're going to do, CPS? You know, it's kind of like, I won't say it's a joke, but it's almost like a de facto, a default thing. When kids are involved in bad situations, we see it all the time with some of these parents that encourage your kids to be LGBT when they're 2 and 3 years old and say, hey, call CPS, get them kids out of their house. But then when they go to CPS, are they going to be safe there? They may even be safer in a bad household than they are going to CPS, because CPS, they may run a whole mill of young girls, maybe even young boys, to be involved in the sex trade. So what's going on? There should be some kind of federal attention to this, obviously, because there was already an issue before with CPS out there in Texas, or at least in Houston, maybe even Dallas, running something like this. So there should be some federal attention paid to what's going on here. And understand this. You're 14 years old. You really don't understand too much about too much. I mean, you know some things. You are responsible for some things that you do, obviously. When we're talking about a 14-year-old girl being encouraged to get money through the sex trade, they are more likely to think that it's okay at that age than they are when they get to be older. And what's going to end up happening is they'll be put on drugs. A pimp might get involved, talking about he wants to be your boyfriend. He wants to look out for her. So now she got a pimp. She's on crystal meth, heroin, or whatever. She's out on the street, and that's very dangerous. You see, a big part of the reason why prostitution is illegal, not just for obviously underage people, because they can't make that decision. You're talking about kids, obviously hands off with that. That's just one part of it. But even when these kids get to become adults, it's very dangerous to be out there in these streets, because it's nothing for one of these guys that want to go find some crackhead or heroin addict on the street to do something with for a short period of time. It's nothing for that guy to go ahead and kill her, chop her up, put her in the dumpster. That's how it goes a lot of times. Okay, it's very dangerous out there in the street. That's why it's illegal, and it should be. And the whole underage aspect of it is even crazier, because I would presume, like I said, there was evidence of this happening before, and it was a kind of organized thing with multiple girls. How many girls that went through the CPS system are now involved in the street life, are now involved with drugs, are now involved with a pimp, getting beat on and going to jail for prostitution and things of that nature? Like, what are we actually doing here with our future? And I kind of fear for our future. You know, a lot of young people, they call into this show. They got their head on straight. They got great parents and a great life, and things are set up right for them to go forward and bring positive energy, bring forth a great future for our country. But there's also a segment of the population, I feel like, are lost, that don't really know where they want to go, that don't really know what they want to do, that really have no direction. Now, I need to address this elephant in the room, because I know somebody or some people are going to say it. Hey, ABL, this is why you should support Roe v. Wade, because maybe some of these kids shouldn't even be born. Maybe if these kids were aborted before they were born, then maybe they wouldn't be 14 years old being offered prostitution. First of all, just because someone offers somebody something does not necessarily mean they're going to do it. It just means they're being preyed upon and they're in a vulnerable situation. Okay, they don't have to go out there in the street to make money. You can get a job a lot of times at that age. Okay, when I was a kid, I knew 14-year-olds that had like regular jobs. You can do that. That's fine. Okay, you can go to school too. You can do both, right? You might live in a city area, stay downtown somewhere. You could go to school, get off of school, and go to work. You could do that. So you don't have to be involved in the street life just because you come from a bad environment or because you're in CPS custody. That's an adult that's trying to manipulate a child into believing that. But beyond that, just because you're born into difficult circumstances does not mean you're going to stay there forever. Your parents might be on drugs. They might be poor. They might not be together. Whatever the case may be, You can come from that and then become somebody when you get to be older. I've seen countless success stories, right? Just because someone is born or is in the womb in undesirable circumstances does not mean that they should die before they get the chance to become someone. Okay. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that a baby that's brought into a bad situation doesn't have a more difficult life ahead of them. I'm not going to say that. Of course, it'd be more difficult being born in a bad situation than a good situation, but it doesn't mean that there can't be a good outcome. So the whole thing about abortion, that being a solution, I think not. What I think we should do is not punish these innocent children for being born. We should punish these victimizers, these adults trying to manipulate these kids, trying to abuse these kids, trying to groom these kids into becoming slaves for them. I wonder if these people get a cut when they sell some little girl into slavery. Okay? I wonder if that's the case. And as I close, I want to say this. I have a quick hot take about American chattel slavery. Then I'm going to move on, I promise. I'll wrap it on up, put the bow on the top. People wonder, hey, how did slavery last so long? How did slavery happen in Africa? Well, there's plenty of people that were around back then and today, regardless of what the color is, that have no problem stealing you and selling you for a little bit of money. Okay, or maybe even no money. Back in Africa, you would sell, not you, not me, not any of us, but some of these tribes that would engage in slavery, they would capture and steal other people from warring tribes, other tribes far away. They would capture them, steal them, and then sell them to the Europeans for simple items, spices, umbrellas, a hand mirror, things like that. And that same thing happens all over the country, all over the world. China is like that. Parts of Africa is still like that. Parts of Europe is still like that. America, you got that going on right here. In Texas, you have it going on. So at a certain point, people are going to be people. You have evil people out there and you have good people out there. I just hope for the sake of our future that we have more people that are good than evil. But I think I'll leave that right there for now. And what say you? What's happening here with CPS? Would you trust your children with CPS? Is it just a Houston thing or is it a national thing? Whatever your thoughts are, let me know in the comments below. You guys should know where I'm at. It's pretty dangerous out here. It's an evil world that we live in. But I don't think this case is evidence to say, oh, you should kill the kids before they're born because they're born to a bad situation. No. We should punish those that victimize our children. And I mean, punish them in a serious way, not just slap on the wrist. You get a fine or a court date in the future. I'm talking about the ultimate punishment. And I don't need to spell it out. You know what 2 + 2 is 4. So I'm saying ultimate punishment. People that abuse children, you know where I'm going with it. That should be the punishment. So maybe we can use that as a deterrent from things like this happening again in the future. But whatever your thoughts are, please let me know in the comments below. And that's all I got to say for this video. If you like what you heard, please comment, rate, share, and subscribe. Peace.